Washington. They run. Talapapa is in. Untouched and undaunted, the Huskies. Camden Lewis, who is perfect on the year at 8 for 8. From 43. This is on the way, and it is once again perfect. Two to snap it. And it's a fumbled snap. Ball is on the ground, and the Washington Huskies are on top of it. Tuputala runs away with the football. Nobody runs more plays in the red zone than the Oregon offense this year in college football. It's a run straight ahead. Oh, he had it the whole way. Oregon assuming they'll see the ball again. Penix loads up a throw, and this is snatched away. Gonzalez fighting for it. Let's see who ends up with the ball. McMillan comes away with it. The ends were coming. Nick snaps it off. Middle of the field. There it is. Dante Thornton. It's a run again. It's Davis lurching forward. He lost the football. Was he over is the question, and the answer is yes. It's a touchdown, Washington. It's another run. It's Whittington. Pinballing outside. Touchdown. With Brandon Dorless back in on the line. Penix uncorks middle of the field on the hands of Polk. And he is out of here. There's a marker down back at the 14. And it looks like it's on the hit of Penix. Nick's roaming to the right. Steps up. Uncorked down the field. Franklin. Penix. First down throw off play action. Giving ground. He throws into traffic. And it is intercepted off the deflection. He didn't have to throw it. He did, and Bossa ripped it off. Penix, clean pocket to throw down the sideline. He drops it in for Davis down the sideline, and there's nobody home. Peyton Henry is looking for his second straight game winner for the Washington Huskies. This is good. Yard line. One last heave for Bo Nix. Feeling the rush again. Climbing the pocket and throwing incomplete. The Washington Huskies have upset
Yeah.
How we doing?
Good.
All right, fire away, everybody.
I was just wondering if you felt compelled to go talk to Wayne Talapapa, because the tragedy at Virginia, those are all former teammates and former running backs, some of them, and he was tweeting, it looked like at 2 in the morning about it. I just wonder if you'll reach out to him on that.
Yeah, Wayne has already been up to the offices today, and we all collectively put our arms around him, and he's hurting. He's hurting. He knew those kids well, and so it's a tough time for him right now, but he's hanging in there, and he's got a lot of strength to give, and I know he'll get back to those families.
When you look back at that tape, just what allowed Penix to have so much success in the second half? Because it really seemed like halftime seemed to click. The third quarter, floodgates opened up. Just what maybe changed at halftime?
I don't know if anything changed. I think obviously it always starts with the O-line doing a great job protecting, and they've done an awesome job of that all year, and keeping Mike clean, that he can stay confident in his reads. And we changed up a couple small things, but nothing earth-shattering. Some checks that we knew we were going to have to make, and I just thought he did a good job of getting through all the progressions and making the reads he had to.
There have been some questions prior to that game about J-Mac dropping a couple balls this season in big spots. What can you say about the game he had, and also obviously the sort of 50-50 ball that he wrestled away?
Yeah, J-Mac, one of the things I love about him is after the fact and in the moment, he's doing a great job of owning it. And so I know in some of the plays that maybe he hadn't made, drops he had, I mean, he was the first one to say, I got to make those catches, coach. Like, you got to be able to count on me in those moments. And honestly, I never thought about averting the football away from him because I've seen him make those kind of catches from spring ball till now, and so we've got a ton of trust, and obviously so does Mike. He just kind of tried to frame him with the ball and let J-Mac go up and make a play, and honestly the kid made a tremendous play. The ball was a little bit high, came up over the top of J-Mac, and we just we showed that play quite a few times in the offensive meeting yesterday, and just talked about the competitive stamina it takes to, when you're in the middle of that, and how J-Mac never quit on the ball. Some guys would feel somebody come over the top, initially make the catch, and just kind of crumble under the weight of the defender. And J-Mac, literally fought to the last second, took the ball away. It was a phenomenal play, and that was something that, I thought really sparked us, that no matter who it was, somebody was going to be able to make a play.
Every coin toss this year that you've won, you've deferred. You guys elected to take the ball. Can you talk about what went into that decision? When was it made, and when you told Michael?
Yeah, we Coach DeBoer and Coach Morrell and Coach Hinge and I had talked about that the day before, and we had made that decision that if we won it, we had some confidence in the game plan that we were going to be able to go in there and strike the first blow, and that's something that wasn't anything O or D. It was just more, that was our most aggressive play, and we wanted to show the kids that, we had an attack mentality on that day, and I thought they did a great job of that. I told the guys on Saturday that we'd be taking the ball if we won the toss, and they were fired up. I think it was a good move by Coach DeBoer, and got the appropriate response from the kids, and they were ready to compete.
Right, in the first half, 14 passes, 14 runs, and then the second half, kind of more 21 passes, 8 runs. Was that a conscious decision to just get going through the air, or was that really more about what Oregon was giving you guys?
A little bit of both. There was definitely some confidence running the ball. I felt like, with the exception of a couple of short yardage plays, I felt like we could move the ball on the ground for sure. But there were some coverage things where I felt pretty strongly that there were some holes that Mike would be able to recognize, and he's been highly accurate all year, so felt good about him being able to move some big plays, and we just didn't want a drive to stall out. And I thought that's what was really important. Was Oregon came out, touchdown, we answer with a touchdown, they get a touchdown, we answer with a touchdown, and at that point on the call sheet, I just had the most confidence in our pass concepts.
The drive that started after the fourth down stop with about 3 minutes to go, actually started about 26 to go. Looking back at you, maybe wanted to run a little more
Are you talking about first half or are you talking about second half?
The fourth down stop when they slipped and you guys took off.
So on the second down play, felt really good about the tempo call there, just to keep it moving. That I didn't want us to, stall out and time to even be an issue. But we were down there close enough where, and honestly, if we break in on a route, we're probably not even talking about it. We moved the sticks, but just had a lot of confidence in the call. And, it would have been nice, obviously, to be able to run the ball on second down, milk some clock there, and then figure out what you want to do on third down. But, it certainly was in the back of my mind, but wanted to stay aggressive and try to win the game.
Obviously seen Michael make a number of pretty impressive throws this year, but the touchdown to Taj to get it there in front of the safety, is that a rare throw for a college quarterback to be able to make? Kind of what's the degree of difficulty on that one?
Yeah, that's the best throw I've seen Mike make in a game. I've seen him make a lot of crazy throws at practice too, but just his recognition of the coverage scheme was phenomenal, and just his ability to get the ball out on time, throw the right type of ball. And I think, the arm talent piece is a big part, but I think the two pieces that are even more impressive to me is, Mike chopping his footwork down to be on time to get the ball there, and it being as accurate as it was. I mean, you saw how tight, number one, the window was to get the ball in there to Taj, and then at the same time, it being so accurate that Taj doesn't just fall out of bounds, and you see the same thing on, JP's touchdown. That was a great throw as well, with, Justin Flo kind of bearing down on him a little bit. And, JP doesn't even have to break stride. And so those are two touchdown plays that, because of the accuracy of the throw, resulted in a explosive touchdown.
What's the reaction in the coach's box when, you just said it's the best throw he's made all year. What's the reaction in the box when you see something?
That one was, we were pretty fired up after that one. That one, there was a lot of fist pumping going on and banging on the window and whatnot, but it was, that was just pure joy, excitement, and showed the guys yesterday that, prior to that play, there's a kind of a win indicator on ESPN on their website, and you can kind of go along on the timeline. And when Mike completed the ball to CD, I think for a 3-yard gain on the right on a play action pass, at that point, Oregon had a 92.5% chance to win the football game. And I showed the guys that yesterday, not in a sense like, oh, wow, this is what we did, but more so that was not what the feeling on the sideline was. I would have said it was flipped, that they knew we were going to win, and just their confidence in themselves and the ability to make a play in that moment. I just think it keeps growing, and you look back to the Oregon State game, same thing. They got the ball, tough conditions, and they felt really confident they were going to go down there and execute. So I just thought that was, phenomenal play, and kids executing, being on time. It was a lot of fun.
I think Taj played like 8 snaps, and that was his only target. What is it about that situation that had him on the field in that spot?
It was just his time to be in. Honestly, and that was one of the things where, Taj is really the alert throw. And so there has to be a pretty specific coverage for Taj to get the football. And that was one of the things I pointed out to the offense, was that had Taj just kind of jogged or run his route, because 9 times out of 10, he's not getting that ball. He's the release to hold the edge, and that's not how he ran the route. He ran the route like he was getting the ball, and that's what made the difference. He was on time with a lot of tempo coming out of the, off the ball, and he was ready for it, and so the spotlight hit him, and he was ready to go. So I thought it wasn't necessarily a game plan thing, him or JP could have been out there. It was just Taj's time to be there, but, it was awesome to see him make that play.
Ryan, on that first field goal, Henry went in motion. Was that what he did? And you got a second chance to go for it if you wanted to on 4th and 1. What would happen with Henry? And did you think about getting, you got a reprieve on that play again, 2 4th and 1 opportunities? Yep,
we had a chance to think about it, and we chose to take the points and stay with it. Ultimately that was obviously coach's choice. And as far as the field goal operation, I have no clue. I don't delve into that world. So.
It looked like he moved to maybe put him back a little further for a normal, extra.
Yeah, it wouldn't have hurt. The extra yardage probably didn't hurt him.
Mike threw an interception, and his next throw was a touchdown pass. pass? What was your conversation with him between those two throws?
Well, I think it has more to do with the preparation and the conversation before the game, and one of the big reminders for Mike in any game, but let alone a big game, is just don't let, one good play or bad play define you, and I think that's one of the most difficult parts of playing quarterback is to actually live by that. A lot of people talk about that, but just to see Mike, be able to come back out and have the courage to get right back on the horse and make the big plays that, his team needed, I think says everything you got to know about Mike. Because I mean, we were on the 1 yard line. Obviously, you can work on just punching the ball in. That's a play we had supreme confidence in, that if they drop zone, that he would just throw it away. Was unbelievably surprised, honestly, that Mike made a bad decision there, because he is so trustworthy with the football and consistently makes great decisions. So it was surprising to see him do that. That part surprised me, but him getting back out there and being ready to throw a touchdown next time he touched the ball didn't surprise me at all.
What are those conversations like with him?
That's a short one, honestly. He got on the phone. I said, you know better than that. You know that's not the throw. You know that's not the play. And we moved on and started talking about the next drive, because with Mike, you don't have to labor obvious points. That's something, there's nobody in that stadium that felt more sick than Mike on that play. And he knew it. He owned it right away, and he was ready to move on. I think that's part of the deal. Me sitting there dog cussing him and making an ordeal out of it isn't going to do anything. You got to get him ready for the next series so he can make the next throw.
The offensive line's had a lot of big games this year, particularly in pass protection. Do you feel like this was their best game as a group? And also, Corey Luciano, had talked a little bit about him, and I think you guys submitted him for a Pac-12 Lineman of the Week. What did he do to kind of stand out in this one?
Yeah, Corey, I think what's really cool for him is, number one, I think in any schematic case, whatever you do offensively, a tough road game, there's nobody that's harder on than the center and the quarterback. And for Corey to come out, is not that Corey's never played here at Washington, but hasn't functioned as a starting center in a game like that. We played tough road games for sure, but the crowd noise can add a whole nother level of complexity to making calls and things like that. And he did a great job with that. I think he missed one call really that we saw, and other than that, he played a really, really good football game. And so I think when the quarterback has confidence in his center that he's going to make the right calls and he's going to feel comfortable, I think that takes a lot of pressure off of Mike. And I think probably one of the things Corey does a great job of is what you don't want is a bunch of actors on the O-line. When they mess up, something's wrong, they need to give accurate feedback to myself and Coach Huff, on the sideline, like, hey, what happened? We're not trying to point fingers, we're just trying to figure it out. And they've done a good job of that all year, and I think Corey owns it when we have to figure it out, and he's able to communicate really well with Mike on the sideline, and I think that's some of the things that are setting those guys apart right now.
What was the plane ride like on the way home?
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. A lot of guys cheering and laughing and having fun, and those are the things you try to encourage the guys to celebrate that, because 10 years from now, that's what they'll remember. It's maybe not necessarily right in each moment, but where they just get to sit back and really soak it in and enjoy it, because they earned it.
How do you come back, get that out of the way?
Yeah.
1-19, you guys are huge favorites. They've lost 4 in a row. How do you get rid of that buzz and refocus, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. Easier said than done, honestly. But we got to try to, trust in our kids. One of the first things we mentioned right away is that's a unbelievable memory, and right now that's what it has to be. And it's got to stay right there. Put it in the past and leave it there for now. You'll be able to celebrate that and enjoy it the rest of your life. But right now, we don't have time for that. We got to move on to CU. And shoot, there's some things obviously in that football game we could have done a lot better. I felt like at minimum, we left 15 points on the board between, having to kick 2 field goals and obvious scoring down on the 1-yard line. There's some things offensively we sure could have done better to make that game a lot easier. And that's the special part about these kids. They own that, and they're ready to step up and try to fix those things and do even better against Colorado. So I'm expecting a great week of practice, and we got to ignore, the opponent and just realize that it's about us and bring out the best version of ourselves. So like I said, I'm excited to see how much maturity these kids come out with and how they prepare this week, because I don't want to put it all on the coaching staff. I don't want us to have to lecture the guys every day. I want them to come out and be excited about practicing.
You guys are number 3 in the country on third down. For the last 2 weeks, it hasn't been the third and short. It's been some remarkable conversions. What do you attribute to your guys' ability to convert on the 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 14 and all those things?
Yeah, I think that, we've done a good job as a staff of, getting the guys coached up on the potential looks that they're going to see. And when we get the looks that we want, Mike knowing where to put the ball. And I think it starts there. And then, obviously guys running good routes and Mike having option 2 and 3 available to him, and the O-line protecting. And they're executing at a high rate in some pretty high pressure situations. And I think it carries over into other parts of the game too. And you see us backed up and we run a sprint out play. I thought that was a phenomenal play. We're backed up, and I don't know if there was a louder point in the football game than that. And Mike rolls out to his left and, easily hits Rome for 12 yards and move the sticks, and we keep going. So I think there's some pieces to that where those high pressure moments, the guys are kind of used to being in them to some extent, and that's helping them execute at a high rate.
Penix had a 15-yard run early in the game where he spun away from 2 guys, and we hadn't really seen something like that out of him. Has he been under any limitations as far as trying to scramble like that?
No, it was about time he did that. That's why I told him on the headphones. I said it's about time we see those size 14s get to work, because he can do that for sure. But it was awesome to see. I thought that was, by far the best play he made with his feet, and just the sense that he had of the free player off the backside edge and how to get around him. But no, Mike is a really athletic kid, and at the same time, he's really smart. He knows how to take care of his body and protect himself. But I thought he had a couple of really nice scrambles.
So I didn't ask about special teams, but Dane Henry missed a game winner down there 4 years ago. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you at all when you see a kid bounce back 4 years later and basically do the exact opposite thing in the same stadium?
Oh, man, I was just excited for him. We knew our job offensively, and, we kind of talked about, Jack Westover catches that first one, and I think there's so many details in that play leading up to Peyton making that kick, our guys being in tune that we need every single yard. Mike throws a really accurate ball to the front side tip of Jack Westover, and he's able to surge upfield and get 4 to 5 more yards, and you need every one of those yards to get there. So I just thought that was really cool moment for him as a kicker. And 2 weeks in a row, honestly, I realized the Oregon State one wasn't a deep kick or anything, but it's windy and it's a pressure placed moment, and he did an awesome job.
Game planning for Oregon, what were the areas that you thought you could attack, and is there a play or two that really highlighted the offensive game plan for that worked?
Yeah, I thought there was a couple specific coverage looks that we could go after. I thought the touchdown for JP, we were looking for a specific coverage there, and once I saw that, I knew we could get to that play. And those are always built into the game plan every week. We felt like there were some balls that we could get down the field on them at times, and I felt like we could move them up front. I felt like there was going to be some seams where if we got people moving and off their point a little bit on the box count, that we'd be able to make them pay a little bit. And that first touchdown showed up that way when we got man coverage on an open set run, and Wayne made them pay on that one.
You guys' running backs were pretty settled with Talapapa and Davis, a little bit of Sam Adams, but with those 2 guys, have you kind of settled on those guys being the ones you have confidence in at this point?
Yeah, those 3, and I'd say Rich still. Rich got in there a few plays as well, but CD and Wayne have definitely been the workhorses, and I think that their preparation is as good as anybody on the team, and especially Wayne. I mean, he's so dialed. We gave him the Details Award this week, not for what just he does on offense, but even in special teams. He's a four-phase guy that knows everything, every part of every play he's supposed to be in on, and so it's just good seeing a guy like that execute at a high level.
What happened to Will Nixon?
He got a little bit dinged, and he was kind of coming back, and sometimes those things happen where a guy kind of falls behind. When you're trying to jump in and get those number 3 reps, it doesn't take much to throw another guy off that's kind of even with him, and so then you saw a little bit more Sam Adams in Will's role this last week.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Morning.
Could you update us on Jordan Perryman? And I don't think Devon Banks made the trip either.
Jordan's day to day. Devon's out for the season.
Obviously, missed tackles were a struggle in that game, and Oregon's, created those problems for a lot of people, but what do you attribute that to?
I mean, they just got some elite guys back there. I mean, those guys are definitely slippery. They're a handful. We knew it was going to be a challenge for us going into the game. And what we really ask our guys to do is just constantly be relentless. If it's not the first guy getting them on the ground, if it's not the second guy getting them on the ground, just got to have elite pursuit to the football. And, I thought our guys did a great job of that throughout the course of the game. You look down the stretch in the fourth quarter, and, man, our guys are still, they're ripping, they're running the ball, they're playing as hard as they can play. And they did a great job of the third and fourth guy sometimes had to put them on the ground. And so, proud of our guys in terms of their resilience, even though we did have some missed tackles.
Alex's hit on Bo Nix on third down. Just talk about kind of what you saw.
Yeah, critical. I think, our game plan going in is, Nix had barely been touched the whole season. Nobody's, hardly breathed on him. And so really our focal point throughout the course of the game, in some of their read game and some of their other things is we had to put some hits on him. And I think, we were able to send a message early. We got to him a couple of times early on, even though he dumped the ball off or got an incomplete pass out of it, guys were able to get to him a little bit. And then, obviously at the end of the game, and, just a setup for us where we have our post player spying the quarterback and everybody was wired in on the play. And, you got a veteran savvy guy in Alex Cook and, just saw the gap open up and did his job and just no hesitation. He took a heck of a run through at a critical time for us.
That fourth down play with Oregon, first of all, were you surprised that they went for it on that?
I guess not really. They've done that all season. So they've been in backed up situations throughout the course of the season where, as you go through the film study, it's 4th and 1, they're on their own 25-yard line and they go for it. And they do that on a regular basis. Now, I don't, in terms of their game mechanics and why they do that, but it wasn't a surprise to us.
Was that Eddie that pinched in? And
Yeah, we just in our gapped out, basically in a goal line call for us, and Eddie's bearing down, so where that guy slips, falls in between, he wasn't going anywhere on that play, and guys just did a great job. And actually, I look at a couple of fourth downs earlier in the game. We had the fourth and super short early in the game, and they barely got the first down. And then, even on the one before the half, they barely got the first down. That's one thing I think our guys take a lot of pride in is fourth down. We've been in this new age of analytics. We're in a lot of fourth down scenarios, and our guys take a lot of pride. We've had several fourth and short stops throughout the course of the season.
Is there any thought to put Dom Hampton outside with all the injuries mounting up?
He's always, the great thing about Dom, he's a good athlete and he can do multiple things, but we had a very specific role for him last week. It was critical just to have him where he was at, and he does a great job for us there, so.
Can you maybe take us through the last defensive series with Oregon getting the ball and just kind of what was going on there and just what you were trying to do?
The very last drive? Yeah, just, dime package, keep stuff in front of us. We knew they had a lot of field to travel there at the end. Guys, we did a great job initially getting them into 4th and long. We got to finish. We got out of our zone a little bit on the 4th and 15, but, the guys didn't blink at all. I think those are situations that we've repeated so many times in practice, whether it's the victory play at the last play of the game or those things. We simulate those things every single week against our offense. I think Coach DeBoer does a great job of making sure, all the boxes are checked every week. And so it wasn't an unusual situation for us to be in. We've literally repped that, dozens and dozens of times throughout the course of the season.
And when their player went down with an injury with lights set him to go.
No comment. I don't think I could say anything on that. I'll give you my true feelings on it someday.
How would you assess Eddie? I think you gave him maybe 15 plays. He had 6 tackles.
Yeah, I thought Eddie was fantastic. I think, down the stretch of the game, you let your guys roll. And, he was a super physical presence on that, as a part of that long drive. And then their second to last drive, and it's just great to have him back in there. He's such a savvy veteran player, and he's very skillful. Did a great job of shedding blocks, getting off the blocks, being at the point of attack, driving the defense. And, it's even more exciting as we can, slowly let his rep volume come up as he gets fully back, and, was outstanding. And I think you just lean on that. You got critical leadership, veteran guys that are making big plays when it counts the most.
Kim asked you about the guy falling down. I don't want to push that, but is that something that you guys talk to the conference about?
I'll leave that for Coach DeBoer.
Okay. Above your pay grade?
Above my pay grade. I'll leave that one to him.
We've seen some more of Chris Mull in recent weeks. He's been kind of coming on as the season's gone on.
Yeah, I love Chris right now. I just think Chris has made just a phenomenal jump here. I think he quite honestly, he struggled early in the season. And really about the midpoint of the season, I think, we really challenged him as a veteran football player. Obviously he's new to our program, but he's a veteran football player. And man, there was just a light bulb that went on with him. And I'm so proud of him, because I think you're in your last year playing college football, and early on in the season things hadn't quite gone his way, and just the resolve that he had and the determination that he had, and he shows up on film a lot for us right now, and he's in the right position. He's a very high IQ football player, and he's using his athleticism to put him on plays.
What do you feel like that light coming on moment was for Chris?
I think it was, really it was kind of around the Arizona game time frame, where just, he is very intelligent, and I think just having the confidence to go be the guy and be an elite communicator. And we brought him in and challenged him with those things, and he really owned it. And since that point, he's never looked back.
When Ty Thompson came in, can you tell me a little bit about how things changed in your mind? Did you feel pretty confident that he was going to be handing the ball off?
Yeah, well, he's dangerous with his feet too. The guy that we're very in tune with and aware of, and I think at that point they're trying to do a little bit of managing the clock and making sure, you don't want to put a lot of pressure. Typically guys are going to want to put a lot of pressure on a quarterback just fresh off the sideline, but we were really in tune with the quarterback run game at that point, just because we know he can be dangerous with his feet.
Latu Agostinoa seems to, he starts, he plays, but he only plays in stretches. Is he being a Warrior right now? Is he kind of beat up a little bit?
Yeah, anybody plays D-tackle and you're in the 10th game of the season's beat up, and we got to manage him a little bit. But I thought he was critical for us. There's a couple of key plays later in the game where we were able to get him back out there, and we are managing him a little bit right now. But again, another veteran guy that just is a force on the interior, and every time he's in there, he's setting the front and making plays.
He looked really spent walking off the field.
Yeah, they were all spent, coaches included.
Coach, can I get a comment on Colorado's offense, just kind of what you see out of them? Sure.
Well, they've been through a lot of situations throughout the course of the year. I think obviously their quarterback, it's been an evolving situation for them. I think the one thing they do is they do a great job schematically. They put their kids, they're going to challenge you schematically, and they're going to definitely be in attack mode all the time, and a lot of moving pieces. They give you a lot of different pictures that you got to line up and defend, and their coaches are doing a great job getting those guys ready to play every week despite the circumstances that they're in. Thanks, guys.
All right, good morning. I just first want to start off, And just make sure, the University of Virginia football program knows that our thoughts and prayers are with them. And, we are always about, the competition and the battles that happen on Saturdays, but there's a brotherhood I think that I know exists across college football. And, we're thinking about them and, praying for strength and that they can get through this. And, we have Wayne Talpapa on our football team who's very close to that team. And, he's working through an emotional time too right now. So just wanted to make sure I started with that because it's a hard time they're going through. So in regards to just where we're at, what an awesome moment for our guys. I just really feel so strong that they deserve, we deserve, our guys deserve this experience. They've been through a lot, not just this year, but years past. And, there's all these little storylines, whether it's Peyton, kicking the game winner, which is now 2 weeks in a row for him. But just, how much this game means to everyone, including, the Husky Nation and the rivalry that exists there. But man, what an awesome night, and it's something that the memories and no one can take that away from our guys. And there comes a point where we got to move on, and we talked about that a lot yesterday. But we certainly celebrated, and went through some of the big moments and the highlights, and they're all learning moments as well because that game was back and forth like many we've been in, and I think that's why we were ready for the moment. Is we've been through a lot, and we've taken each of those situations, whether it be the adversity that we faced and how we've responded, or the ways we've found a way to win, whether we had a lead and things were closing, or whether we came from behind and won. We've used all those great moments, and so it's a culmination of a lot of things, but awesome experience for our guys. Super proud of them. Questions?
Behind the decision to wear all purples down there?
Felt like yellow was a lighter color, right? And so just from our end, the contrast, I felt like that was appropriate. I feel, especially from a quarterback vantage point, you need to see and feel the different colors because it's not only what you see in front of you, it's the peripheral vision. And, it worked out well where we could wear our home purples, on the road, so.
You guys didn't have any fourth down attempts yesterday, and you had the fewest amount of third down attempts. Was a lot of that predicated on getting so much success on first and second down?
Yeah, it was. I think some of our third downs on that first drive were huge. They were the longer ones I think we had, and some great conversions there. But the guys did a good job. On first and second down, the efficiency was good. There was less plays being run also in the first half, which lends itself to less third down opportunities. Couple of them, that were probably the easier ones. We'd like to, have executed and found a way to convert. But, the fourth down moments that came just felt right to take the points to get the field goals at those times.
Kalen, Brian said the 62-yard play to Taj was the best throw he's ever seen Mike make. I think he said this year. Mm-hmm. You've been with him for a long time. Where does that throw go?
Well, I think you take the timing and of the moment, and you add that to the throw itself, the read, and just the culmination of everything. I would have to agree. I'd have to say that was the biggest and best throw. I've seen him make. He's made a lot of them, but that was a perfect moment, perfect time to deliver. That's for sure.
Could you talk about Devon?
You're going to have a couple guys making decisions, as always, on the draft. Penix is one of them. Rome's probably another. Yep. Have you started to have those conversations, or is that something you just kind of wait until after the season?
I think there's certainly conversations that position coaches, myself, are just having as the season's gone on. We're trying to help them out. We're just trying to educate them, and we're doing some things this week as well with not just some of those guys, but our program in general. And we try to do that. We'll try to do that continually on a year-round basis. Kind of have have different moments throughout the year where we're educating the masses and then kind of narrowing it down just to help them with the scope of what's going on. And so it's not something I think it's too late if you wait till after the season's completely over because, people are going to be all over these guys to try to figure out what they're doing. So we're certainly, having low-level conversations with them and trying to help them find answers if they have questions.
Kalen, Chuck was asked about the apparent injury from nowhere to Chris Hudson on the second to last play of the game where they got a player literally telling him to hit the deck.
Yeah.
He falls down. What did you see and what was your perspective on it?
That's what we see too, and it's just one of those things like, what can you do? The officials have to acknowledge, and, I don't want to be insensitive, and, if there's an injury, that's part of the game, those things happen. So, I know those things are always looked at from a league level, and it's part of college football that we get, in our discussions, in the off season, but, the officials have to acknowledge and honor that it's an injury, and that's, I guess, as a coach, that's the way I have to too. And just the timing of it is hard because the clock would have started, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, we're on the right end of it here. We're talking here today with a victory, so just do hope he's okay.
You contact the league office about that, or?
I think they're certainly well aware. Those are things that, from an official standpoint and everything, that those discussions certainly happen in the reviewing of each and every game.
With Devon Banks out for the season, could you give us a little detail? Did he get hurt in game practice? Did he have surgery? What happened to him?
Yeah, Devon, he happened in a game a few weeks ago, and he'll have surgery this week. So it's not something that just happened once. It's been reoccurring throughout the year, and I just go back to, we've had many guys that when we talk, probably when the season's over, and some of the crazy things that have happened, in games, or the injuries guys have played through, and just put themselves out there for this football team each and every week. And Devon would be one of those guys. Julius Irvin would be another, who I know last week we discussed is out for the year. There's been some times when we just needed those guys on the football field, and not that it was a risk, but they were, in a spot where they, they wanted to do whatever they could to help, and it just comes to a point where you can't handle it anymore.
3 DBs now out for the season. That's a pretty big hit to your position area.
Yeah, and then it's a position group that obviously early in the year was short to begin with. So I'm proud of those guys, the way they fight. I'm proud of the way they all stick together. There's been times when they've just it's gut check every practice and every game, and Devon certainly will recover and be stronger because of it.
The explanation on the injury stoppage, that there was no runoff because the clock stopped for the first down.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
On Tony's post-game show, you mentioned that there was a story behind Peyton kicking that first field goal. Can you tell us a little bit?
We've used, I know he was asking about Dylan being out there, and we've used Dylan a few different times, and just wrinkles that we have in our program that we work on, and just, probably wasn't quite at that point, the moment we decided to take the points, but, we used Dylan a couple different times against Oregon State and earlier in the year too, just intentionally, sometimes it just takes the heat off the rush, and sometimes it's just things that you're getting ready to do with your program, whether it's this game or other games down the road. Keeping people on edge for sure is a part of those tactics.
With Lanyata Alexander fielding the onside kick, obviously Oregon stole possession against UCLA doing that. I'm sure you guys were prepared for that.
Yeah.
What did you see, and what was the preparation going into that?
Yeah, they came out with some jersey numbers in different spots for that kickoff, and it alerted our coaching staff, and even just the timing of it kind of was like I flipped over to both sides and just had a heads up, and it's something we would do anyway, just given the onside kick they had, as you said, against UCLA, but there were some indicators that something fishy was up, and we needed to be ready.
You have a chance to get Jordan Perryman back this week?
Yeah, I would say he's day to day, and we'd hope. I don't anticipate him maybe practicing early in the week, but as the week goes on, my hopes are that he'd be out there playing on Saturday.
It's one thing to have familiarity with an offense like Penix had, but not having worked with Grubb. That 62-yarder to Taj, is that just the epitome of kind of what Mike is and what he can do?
Yeah, and it's those two working together. They'd seen that coverage on maybe one clip, and I know the clip that they refer to when they talk about that read, and Mike recognized it earlier in this game. We had thrown the ball to Rome on the same play and got a different coverage, and on that call they went to the look where Taj has to be ready, and Mike delivered, and as Coach Grubb said, Mike's preparedness for that moment and just not even thinking twice, just trusting what he sees, using his preparation, his experience, and then Taj just running hard, even when that ball probably isn't going to go to him running a good, hard, crisp, clean route.
You guys have struggled at times with kickoffs and kickoff coverage, and that kind of bit you at times against Oregon. What do you need to do in that area to improve some of those things?
Yeah, there was really, is what it comes down to a lot of times is just one guy, couple simple things with one guy here, one guy there. And as we've in some ways gotten healthier, we've changed some of the personnel on those kickoff coverage units, on the kickoff coverage unit. And a guy might move to a different spot. And, as much as you really feel like you got it ingrained in your schemes that we've run for now 10 games, and, there's a little adjustments here and there, but, it just takes one guy to not recognize something or not execute properly, and a minimal return can turn into something where they're getting the ball in the 35-40. So kick locations are always key. We'd love to have it out the end zone, but the one way it seemed like, even though there wasn't much of a wind, it was hard to get it out. Kick locations is always where it starts, and we just got to always try to be better with where we're trying to spot the ball, because, we don't want to give the least amount of options and areas for that ball to go. And there's schemes that are around where we want him to. Grady continues to work. He's done a great job all year. And, between Grady and the unit, there's certainly things that we just needed to clean up.
Coach Rowe talked about it a little bit, but can you talk about, did Coach Grubb and Mike lobby to take the ball first on the opening kickoff? And what was the turning point where you go, yeah, we're taking the ball? Yeah,
I don't really say Mike lobbied. I think it was from more of the coaching side of it. Earlier in the week, it kind of was brought up and, to think about. And we've done that a few times throughout the years where, you just, especially when you're on the road, you think about taking the ball. I'm so big on how you have that momentum going into halftime and how you come out. And especially when you have an experienced team, but we were also facing a team that plays so well and just jumps on top of people. So it just felt right for us to, take the ball. We've had a lot of success, in our first drives of the game. I felt like we were pretty locked in, and, between Coach Grubb, Coach Inge, and Coach Morrell, we all agreed that that was a great way to start out the game.
Last home game Saturday, Coach Bass. You mentioned these guys going through a lot, 3 different coaches, coordinators, assistants. Any thoughts on the seniors going out Saturday night?
Yeah, we'll have 13 guys that we'll be recognizing on Saturday, and 11 scholarship guys. For the most part, the scholarship guys are all the guys that have 0 eligibility left. There'll be a couple walk-ons that have been here for 5 years or have no eligibility. So, man, what they've given to this program is so much, and they all got their individual stories. You got Jackson's story, and you got AC, and just they've done so much. They've accomplished a lot, and then they've also gotten through COVID and a 4-8 season, and here we are, 8-2, and it starts with these guys. It starts with their resiliency, their attitude, and just how passionate they are about Husky football. So I've leaned on them so much over the last really almost 12 months now, to give me guidance when I have questions about, how things have been done in the past, or how we're doing, with our attitude and the little things, areas I can clean up for the team that maybe are, not right where we want them in sync. And so they've been open, honest. They've been great. The whole team, I think, being open to our staff coming in starts with these seniors in particular.
Who are the walk-ins that are going to move on?
Brennan Holmes is done with his eligibility. He has 0. So, and then Gage Hardy.
How important has that experience been on the offensive line, where you mentioned Kirkland, but also Henry Mainavalu wasn't sure if he was going to keep playing football,
Yeah.
I think, and then Luciano was a transfer. He didn't start for a couple of years. Just the combination of those guys, how big has that been for you?
For the offensive line?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, Mike's been protected, and he does a great job of making the checks. And, Saturday night was exactly that. The clock's ticking down, and there was many times with 6 and 7 seconds left, Mike's making one more step towards the line of scrimmage, and it's loud. He's just making sure and solidifying. It's hard to hear. Maybe one false start the entire game in the first drive. But, just that connection and that belief and trust that we have in Mike starts with those guys up front, because they're protecting him and they've paved the way. And like you said, they all got their own stories and how they've come together. And it's beyond even just those 5 and those seniors you're talking about in particular. Corey, though, man, his energy and his passion, he was voted to the Unity Council right away. And he's just, not being here the entire time in his career, but he's a Husky. He's a Husky through and through. And Henry coming back, caught me by surprise a little bit there in the early months, and I think it was in January. And then, of course, Jackson, that one's been well documented. And, man, super, super happy for him, getting that win even this weekend closer to home.
In basketball, when guys have their last home game, the basketball coaches, it's not uncommon for them to start guys who don't have any eligibility left or to get them in the game. Are you going to try to do a little bit of that this week, get some guys in that haven't seen the field much?
Yeah, that's always the goal, I think, on a senior day, is try to find those moments, we do a lot of personnel, and, maybe there's a way to work guys in. But, first and foremost, these guys would care most about making sure on their senior day that they win the football game. And so whatever role that they've played, I think, in the program up until this point is, I think, where they understand it would be going in. But we're certainly aware of any opportunity that we could have to get those guys in there, make an impact.
Speaking of the game, though, on Saturday, you're coming off this big game win against Oregon. How do you get the guys in for a Colorado team that's been struggling? They've changed their coach in the middle of the season, and obviously their season hasn't gone the way they would go.
Yeah, I think that's always the concern, right? No matter who you are, big game, and then everything you just explained as far as what Colorado's been through. I think you just don't have to look any further than what we've done this season. And at the beginning of the year, we said we can beat everyone on our schedule, and probably honestly, there's not such a gap. I think we're becoming a pretty complete team, and each and every week we're closing that gap on what our potential is. But we said all along, everyone can beat us too. And a few weeks back, we went on a 2-game losing streak, and we're going to learn from those games, just like we have the wins as well. And so, we got to be ready. We got a lot riding on the season, just as far as the opportunities that could present themselves. And so, before we even think about the last week of the season, we got to make sure we're focused on Colorado.
What were the biggest lessons you think from that UCLA Arizona State?
I think the lessons as far as who we were as a team is that we will keep coming at you. We will keep playing, and that belief, whether it's offense to defense and just in each other, that's the part that I think has helped us in these games, like especially Oregon State, Oregon, a little bit in Arizona. It's so crazy. I keep thinking back to how did this happen in those 2 games? We quickly forget, and we know internally what we were going through. really, we're the only ones that know what we were going through, probably more so with injuries at that time, and just how thin we were, and how hard it was to just put some guys on the football field to practice at times. We just, one of those things I know you focus on for next year is just making sure we never are that vulnerable to where some of those things happen, like that happened earlier in the year. But those are the lessons that we've learned and that we have applied, I think, in the last 4 games that we've won, and that we'll continue to apply to this weekend.
All good?
Awesome. Thank you, guys.